education follows from, personal education follows from knowing what you want to contribute to society. Government should be in place to show people how they can contribute to society. It's not doing that. So part of the solution is organizing at the neighborhood level. And I think the Occupy movement needs to go from the park into neighborhoods as part of the strategy. Why neighborhoods? Because commuting's getting more expensive. We're no longer in a manufacturing economy. People like meeting in cafes, etc. So neighborhoods are becoming more of the solution, and we can influence decision making by neighborhood, whereas in a kind of global system, there's no way of influencing which way we're going as a global society. Social and economic development traditionally relies on access to good information. It seems that media, corporations, and government are all in one big cabal that isn't really telling us what the problems are. So we need... China is going to be building 1,000 new universities. Western societies don't have that kind of money because of this idea of money and debt. And it's only an idea, which we can change. But there's things that we need to learn about in neighborhood-based curriculum. The nature of money, the nature of economies. Nobody in higher education is really saying what economies are. They're all teaching neoconservatism or whatever. But basically economies are ways in which you save on limited resources and save on effort.
Chantal had a comment on economy, which is
they can.
basically
Don't worry, I'm
quite correct.
fine.
I can have a different name for it.
It's fine.
Where's that
first sheet over there?
You cannot kick people out of the chat room just for that. It's trolls only that can get kicked out of the chat room.
Chantal.
What was your name for the economy?
Chantal?
No.
The name for the economy.
Oh, resource-based economy.
The term?
Resource-based economy. Resource-based economy.
Economy.
Yeah, I have a different name for it. I call it share economics, which is exactly the same meaning, it's just different words. The economy should be based on sharing everything on the planet, not on who
So
has
when we get
what.
around to that point, Chantal, we're draw that out and clarify it, okay? When we get back around to you on the resource-based economy.
Okay.
Yeah, in terms of economies, I think there's going to be two subsequent economies to manufacturing and banking and all that stuff. It's going to be the economy of mutual fulfillment. We need to learn how to do more with less through mutual fulfillment based on our values. The only thing that we can fulfill is our values and our needs. And then an economy of conscious evolution, where we look at how nature organizes and start to align with how nature organizes rather than fighting nature.
You lose me there. I don't think nature organizes at all. No,
It's
it just
exquisitely
is.
organized.
It's very
No, it looks to be well organized.
I wonder if we can continue around to hear more voices too.
Okay, next up,
Okay.
Robin.
Basically, I like a lot of what Andrew said. I think organizing in neighborhoods, and I like what you said as well. Speaking to your neighbors, bringing the ideas that you've got from here and the ideas that you resonate to from here out into your neighborhood. Talk to your neighbors, get them involved, organize them. So we are actually starting to do that in our neighborhood, and that's what I think we should do.
Yeah,
It's a
that's
good way
great.
of doing it.
We have an emphasis on food.
Occupy your cafe, occupy your neighborhood, occupy your cafe,
Yeah.
occupy your kitchen. right?
Yeah, and
Okay.
the other thing, what I like about neighborhoods and organizing all this in neighborhoods is that you actually see the people in your neighborhood so that you can have an inclusive coordination. You can look and see what people are being drawn in, what people aren't being drawn in. So there's a real, real opportunity for inclusivity, which is lacking in the way things are right now. And a real sharing and helping each other and using the diversity of gifts and talents right in our small place, because I don't think that any of the macro economies have been working. So we need to have our economies be more socially based with each other in terms of relationships, and use our creativity, like we are right here. These things can work together. We can find some consensus here probably if we keep going, but how do we do that in the big, large picture?
Also a very strong voice because it's
This chat
happening
room
now.
is
All the people
I
are
wonder if we
gathered
can
together,
stick in the
Like, when do we
circle,
start
right?
banning people for caps lock?
Okay.
adding to the
You
comment.
give lots of warnings to people.
Caps lock was never
okay,
a rule.
so
I know, but excessive use of it.
how do we go forward? Two
Never
things
Do you
I want
have
to
a
put
comment,
all of this is really good. I mean, these are the good thing about being in a room. I'm sorry if I'm standing over. It's just I have hardware in my spine and sitting down, and it's just better sometimes. It's just
Stand up.
no. It's easier. I just move. It's just me. Okay, so don't be offended by that. Okay, first of all, the wonderful thing about being here is that we have so much commonality, and there's so much information that we know and we shared and we agree upon, that as we come around and we see this and we just keep moving on. So in agreement to all of you, I'd like to put two things forward that are very, 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 very close to my heart. As an educator at my heart, as a trainer and a conference speaker of many, many years, I know that getting to kids, and even as a parent and as a coach, I know that getting to kids and having them understand that as they have been coming down to St. James Village and expressing their incredible astute nature and kind and considered nature, that getting an education program out there to the schools is absolutely incredibly important. I 2 weeks ago went and I said I offered my organization, the Institute of Canadian Justice, as one of our gifts to Occupy Toronto, if you were, have offered and helped develop a program that we can start rolling out. We've had some discussions with some boards of education, and they're really excited. So we just got to get some hands up and move forward, and some additional input and consensus and all of that. So what I would say is education plan for students. Okay, first thing, plan or project for students and school boards. Okay, for students. And literally there are a lot of folks out there, and one of the things that I think we as a movement need to understand, that there's a lot of organizations, unions, others, law commissions and the like, that want to help us, that have been doing some of this work for a lot of years, and that we can help either piggyback on and help and associate with, build those bridges, hyperextend out. Okay, so that one. Then the church forums and summits that they promised us. These have been promised to us already. Let's utilize them. Let's take advantage of that. And I would love to do that. I would love to help out with whoever to do that. Yes.
What's a summit as opposed to a forum?
Forum will be a group of us speaking. A summit will be a bigger, like a conference kind of deal. Okay, but not just summits. Right? So we could be speaking about monetary policy one day, one seminar. We could be talking about social justice, First Nations issues, and that's actually a discussion that I've already had with the Anglican Church Foundation in regards to First Nations. They got some money. They want to spend it. So we just got to link into these folks, okay? So hyperextending, in addition to what has happened at St. James, is that there's an awful lot of affinity from other churches too that want to show them up. They kind of lock their doors on us.
Maybe you should put link into.
Yeah, link into others, linked to others. Okay, and just the whole thing about piggybacking.
Yeah.
Right, piggybacking existing efforts. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Okay.
So I'm gonna
So like the education topic there.
we've been doing pretty long contributions. Let's see if we can keep our contributions a little bit shorter so we can get to the next question as well. So,
I don't want to stifle anything, but as a point of order, I think we're looking for solutions that are stuff, where do we go next, as opposed to where do we go in like a year from now. Some of these great ideas are not something we're going to get to.
I think Gerald's ideas I'm ready to work on Monday, but that's a side note.
Some of them, yeah. Some stuff.
Joy, did you want to add something to this conversation? How do we go forward?
How do we go forward? What were the topics? Oh, the banks. We have to bring awareness to what the banks are doing to us. And I did some calculations the other day about the interest that we pay. We pay almost $180 million in interest on our debts a day. That adds up to about $68 billion a year. And now that's close to the same amount that we as Canadians pay in income tax. If for no other reason anybody supports Occupy Toronto and moving forward, they should support it for that reason alone. If we stop paying that interest, that could be like, we could use it to significantly decrease or eliminate our income taxes. And you look at somebody who's making a minimum wage, that'll put an extra $200 on their paycheck, every paycheck. And you get two paychecks a week.
Paying interest.
Stop paying that interest, or even just stop borrowing money at interest from those banks.
That's a cool one.
So create discussion around monetary policy with that in a proactive.
I think it was a pretty
forward.
I think it was a pretty clear statement. Stop paying interest.
Stop paying interest. Okay.
Or pay off whatever we see deemed fit to pay on our debt, and then be like, all right, whatever, we just gave you enough, so you guys can screw off, kind of deal.
Okay. Chantel, do you want to offer this thing on how we move forward?
You know what, guys? I haven't really heard a whole lot that's been going on.
That's okay too.
Yeah.
It's also okay to pass on these ones too. It's not.
Well, just riffing on what I was talking about earlier, because the Design Exchange has offered this as a forum, maybe the Design Exchange could continue to, and it could be facilitated here. But what I'd like to see is if all the cities where there was Occupy could have a similar forum so that we can start to show where the linkages, where the commonalities are of concern that everyone around the world have. Because it's obviously not just a Toronto problem. There are some specific problems in Toronto, just as there are unique problems in Vancouver, but there are universal problems in all of the Occupy movement. I would think that if we can have a kind of electronic space where that could be facilitated in a public way, that where people could contribute, it might have to be curated or something like that, but I think that the Design Exchange is being real leaders in offering this now, and maybe they could continue to do that just as a small area of their physical plant here.
So they host a website?
They would host and a physical space. So it would be virtual and physical.
I really like that idea of the DX, like reaching out to other cultural institutions and proposing that they form these kind of networks with the Occupy community as well. I'm also very interested in the education topic. I'm just going to propose two subjects that could either be explored in the neighborhood outreach or in the education program, and one is just like our economic history from the last 40 years. And I would love it if a future event...
We have 20 minutes left. For the discussions. So please move towards how we're moving forward if the discussions haven't gotten there yet. And we'll be ending at 7:05. This is the only announcement that we'll make. So keep the discussions going. Let's move forward with this.
So one of the subjects I would love to see a future forum at the DX explore is our economic history, and I would love it if that was explored through three lenses: last 40 years, last 2 years, last month.
Last 40.
This guy's been burning rubber.
Yeah. Last 40.
Last 2 years.
Last two.
2008.
Yeah.
And then the last month. I would love it if there were three. I'm going to say experts, but I would. Whatever, that is a contested term. 3 experts speaking to these 3 histories, and then also I would love it if every field, including economics, has a specialized language that can be used to obscure the meaning of the message. I would love it if there was some education done around the specific terms of economic terms. Yeah.
So it's almost like a key code.
I mean a dictionary.
Yeah, no, a dictionary. So and multidisciplinary glossary.
Sure.
Right?
But it's making it too complicated. It's like understanding specific economic terms. Like, what is a derivative? Let's understand this.
So glossary. So okay. I.e. So what is a derivative?
That's one example of many.
No, but just right. So i.e. so political terminology, economic terminology, right? Environmental terminology.
Let's just remember that we're going to try and pull all of this conversation into a couple of minutes, right? When we're offering it to the group.
And even just within the design exchange forums, I see the opportunity to really focus on the language of economics.
Yeah.
Please.
Is it?
I just think that we should say what is the economy?
Sorry, I can't see her.
What is the economy? Because it's been taken out of our hands, so that we can start from the beginning and have an economy that is grounded in our awareness instead of just talking about the terms as well.
So, in continuing with this circle,
yes.
I guess what I would offer as moving forward, I think that's a great way to kind of look at it. I mean, if you take the word economy and break it down, eco is home, and it actually developed a can't remember specifically.
Nomos
exactly.
Is
caretaker.
Our home.
Yeah.
Taking care of our home.
So that's actually what the word economy means, is taking care of our home. And in that respect, what I would suggest as a way to move forward, I want to do an Occupy Everything campaign. And so something that I'm thinking a lot about is Occupy the subways, and I'd be curious if people are interested in helping in making that happen. So you start with a General Assembly at one end, and you've just got a General Assembly going through rush hour as you're crossing the city. That's one of the ways that I would say we should move forward. Another way that I want to move forward is with community general assemblies, so that every single community in Toronto, it's not a Toronto General Assembly, but Toronto actually takes it on to be a prototyping center for how this movement could actually fill a city, so that every neighborhood has their own General Assembly. We've got 6 million people here. That's more than enough to host a whole mini caring of our home economy. And so I would love to see that, and what I'd love to talk about actually is how do we carry that forward, and how do we make that a reality.
Something like that on a ward-by-ward basis would definitely make a lot of politicians start paying attention to what we're saying. If we suddenly start organizing ward by ward, and we have more people showing up than voted for, it would definitely get some movement.
And that goes back to the neighborhood associations, because that would be a logical starting point for that discussion, because you would go as Occupy would approach the neighborhood association and say, we would like to come and talk to you, or someone that could pull off the website or this electronic virtual format where you could just draw from it and say, here, this is how I understand Occupy, because one of the wonderful things about what we're doing here is that we're also very different. We all come from different perspectives, but yet we have this commonality about us and so our own interesting lenses as we come to this helps us explain this to the people in our own circles of influence or neighborhoods and
getting out of order.
I wanted to respond to Bev.
Can we stay in order?
We're supposed to be going.
We
are.
Misha
We're supposed
left.
to keep
Misha
going
left.
along this thing.
So
He was the facilitator, so now it's...
I said my piece.
Okay, I would like to add one thing. I'm afraid it's a very negative thing, but we have to be extremely careful about being co-opted by institutions. The institutions, to a large extent, are what causes the problem and what all this whole thing's about. And to use them in the next steps, I think, is just total disaster.
Like unions?
like churches,
Like churches too.
unions, educational institutions, all institutions. They're suspect. I mean,
They're just not evolved.
not involved.
Not evolved. They're not evolved.
No, and they're very often called the social harm. So,
Bev was saying about software platforms, right?
Yeah, a virtual space in a
Virtual
real
space.
space.
yeah.
That sort of boils down to using a platform or a way of organizing online to get things done. And there is a group that met at the park, and we looked at different participative democracies and how to get that onto online. The best one that I heard about was the one that's being used by the Six Nations. It's called the Great Law of Peace, and we're almost on Six Nations land. I think that's a good model.
Some nations lands. We're all on some nations lands.
Yeah. So if we can get that embodied into software, that would be ideal. Also, Iceland developed some software with a team of 10 people for their participative democracy. Yes, Simon?
Can I ask you just to, you mentioned this
Great
software
Law
that,
of Peace.
Can you go into more depth about how that works?
Okay, the Great Law of Peace
What, the
has been...
software or the Great Law of Peace?
Is the Great Law of Peace software?
No, the Great Law of Peace has been around for about 700 years. It's used by the Six Nations, which are the Haudenosaunee people, Longhouse people, Iroquois.
It formed the United States government.
And it was used as a model for the United States government. It starts off with a Wise Women's Circle, and they choose leaders in the neighborhood, youth, elders, entrepreneurs, and gets them to organize in circles, and they start to learn from one another. So it's been around for a long time, and also they always look at the impact of everything that they do on the next 7 generations. The American Constitution is based on it, but they got rid of the wise women, and they got rid of the youth.
Everyone is
Only important parts.
The elders became the Senate. The entrepreneurs became the House of Representatives. The people that take care of the next 7 generations became the president. So you're wondering why we're in a screwed up world. So it's one of the best forms of participative democracy, and I see it as ideal for neighborhoods and creativity or innovation. If a leader doesn't do their job, they're no longer supported by the Women's Circle. You don't have to wait for 4 years.
And the women see the young people growing up, so they see the people that are dedicated, that are, who are authentic, who have integrity, who are good leaders. It's right in the neighborhood, so you can see it.
My only issue with that is then doesn't that just shift power to that group deciding who can and can't be leaders?
Shifting power to women
If you
at this
have
point in our
elders,
history
or
is
the elders is kind of saying it's my decision whether or not you get to lead us. It seems anti-consensus to me if there's a small group elders that make the decisions. It's not it's not that much different than what
if we're quintessentially though, your point is saying here is that organizing platforms that are based on more reason than what they presently are, in order for us to dialogue based upon better models, and a model, for example, would be the Great Law of Peace.
It's a model of what's called participative democracy.
Yeah.
And it's largely seen as the best.
From my experience,
So I said I wouldn't do this.
What happened here?
But I'm interrupting you one more time to just let you know that this is Sarah Diamond. She's president of WCAG University. And at the end, she's going to be helping us to really, it's super exciting that she's here. And at the end, she's going to be helping us to really pull these things together. So in the last 10 minutes, what I want to encourage you to do is to bring out from your table key points. Each table is going to have approximately 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes to try and share with the group their conversation after we have pizza. But so I want you guys to, as a table, come together about what you want that sharing to look like.
So what I think would be really helpful is to think about, two things. One piece of the conversation, and it sounds like it's been just fantastic here, is, what are the kind of key issues, themes that really unify people? And the second is, what are the next strategies? So we're going to try and look at those as we look at, what I'm going to try to do is find a kind of common basis that comes from the groups that are both about those unifying principles, and then some of the things that folks really think need to happen next. And that's how we'll try and end the meeting, or the grouping, or the experience. So enjoy. Hope you work.
No, I'm just key words to those discussions. Trust me, Bruce. We've been here 40 days and 40 nights, right? A lot of us have really been having hours and hours and hours and hours of conversations. We're kind of at the point where we're almost reading each other's minds.
That's where it is.
And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Now, as you said, okay, what I'm adding here is your point, okay, about co-optation, so that when we read these things through, that they're properly reflective. So please understand, Bruce, I as an individual come to everything that I do with the utmost morality and dignity, and I will never ever shortchange anybody knowingly, but I appreciate you we're just trying to get to the point of all of this, okay?
So it's clarifying, Simon wanted clarification. Yeah. The other point was Iceland is developing software.
Quite a while. I just wanted to mention, maybe that just shouldn't be assumed. Maybe that shouldn't be assumed. Maybe what he was saying had some merit to it. And so we only have 10 minutes left. I don't know if we would want to just briefly finish off everyone in terms of contributing, and then actually as a group go through this as well. Because I think that has merit.
We're here. We're at this point, so we got 3 more people to finish through. Okay, so here the essential point here was an organizing platform that engages in a participatory democracy model. Okay, does that work? Okay, going forward.
It's your turn.
It's here. We're back here, right? Okay, right? So, yeah, that's right. I'm passing. I've already said what I needed to say.
On which? What is this?
We're just recapping again, moving forward. Is there anything else that you'd like? An actual step, an action step, as opposed to a comment, an action
Here's
step.
another color. We could mark the action steps that we have available.
Let's do that together.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have anything else to say about that? Anything else to add about the moving forward, how to move forward?
How to move forward. We still have to continue doing outreach. Right now I'm doing an intercity outreach project, which brings me to different cities and different occupations. The different cities don't necessarily have to have occupations like physically, but as long as they have occupied discussion groups, I think that's what we have to do. And I've been doing this for the last week and a half, or 2 weeks, and what it is, it's essentially, we have this winter here. We don't want to waste the winter. We have 3 months of cold weather where we can go out, do outreach on an intercity level, and hopefully people are doing it on a provincial level as well, so that we can have everybody united together and stand together and facilitate a mass discussion on the local, national, and possibly even an international level. That's what, to me, this next step is really about. We've already got the attention here, now we have to push out forward in an outreach sort of manner to other cities and other provinces and other countries.
I'd just like to see if there's a way that we can figure out some commonality that everybody's okay with, because whatever kind of facilitation is going to happen, you're never going to get 100% buy-in. There's always going to be somebody who's got a different take on it. But what are the values that everybody could espouse together that would be the underpinning to any future decision. Any future, yeah, exactly. Just to try to articulate some shared values.
Can I propose we now look at this and highlight the things that we want to come out of it?
We've numbered all the points, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we just go through them and we'll just do the
we're like
we
some of them.
that,
We see some of them are kind of going. That's where I was trying to go back and just clarify as opposed to okay.
We don't have
So we need to bring
enough.
something back to the major group. So how about we pick the top 3 and we can just do it by consensus?
Well, we don't have to go to the top 3. Let's just do a
vote.
vote. Go through all of them.
What are the most important ones?
Yeah, and we're
this
just and we'll do a vote. Like right, just hands up, low down.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just gotta make sure we don't duplicate them. That's what I'm just okay. So, first point. First person was education and awareness, share ideas without any bias, balance, and that there's balance and facts. Okay, so everyone who's in agreement with that.
Well, what's the action item?
The action item as we go through. We started. Okay, so when we were
Well,
going.
you mentioned education.
So we started over here, right? When we started, so.
Language of economics.
Actually, you were at the right page. This was the first comment.
That was the first
No,
comment,
no, but you were
it
trying
wasn't
to
an action,
find
right?
the rest of the action.
Oh, here you go. There's education
Okay,
again.
so education plan,
That was for students.
but that was just for students.
I think that's good.
Okay, but so a general education plan and awareness, or an education, so shared ideas, so a common platform that Occupy has that just like this, right? This is who we are. Right? We need to have that out as much as possible because number one thing that's been said about us is that we don't know, no one knows what we really stand for. Well, we stand for many things. So some kind of overall education, right?
Yeah, and this is part of it.
Yeah.
That was just
for students.
okay.
Like, yeah.
Vision, okay, of what we are building. So again, that goes back to kind of
As a society.
as part of that information. The organization's vision, okay, starting a vision, neighborhood coordination, right? I'm like.
That's the strongest. I mean, everybody.
When you say we,
in all the groups I'm in,
we should clarify
feel they're part of the movement.
like Occupy Toronto or society. I meant society. We don't know where we're going as a society.
So should that start with at least Occupy doing that, right? That would be the action, right? Right? That would be the action. Create a vision of what society we are building,
Yeah,
right?
like that.
Are we like clearly voting? Is everybody on the same page here? Okay.
Here's the thing. I have really big trust in my fellow people here that they will come to a positive decision, and I'm just really tuning in right now, and I would just like to hear all the points because I'm pretty sure I would agree on them too because we're all here for the same thing.
Okay. So we start. 1. Actions. Okay. I'm going to write this out. Okay. Number 1. Create education, information, info.
Without bias.
Without bias about Occupy.
Right?
Right?
Well, about economies, money,
and our purpose. And our purpose. Right? 2. Create a vision of what society we are building. We want to build.
Yeah.
Right? Create a vision of what society we want to build. Okay?
What it looks like.
3. Create or enhance, develop neighborhood.
I have a problem with the vision because the vision is not a common thing.
We're just putting this out there for everybody else to discuss. We're not going to solve the world's problem tonight. We've just got to try and do our best.
I just don't think there is a vision.
Well, that's what they're talking about getting,
Yes,
right?
that's right. There isn't, but let's develop one.
Okay. The changing vision.
Okay.
living vision.
Create and change a vision. Okay. All right. Neighborhood coordination. Increased engagement of neighborhood associations and coordination.
Just call them networks because associations.
Create neighborhood.
Create a neighborhood coordination based on.
Even in my neighborhood, nobody's talking. So
Okay, so
neighborhood coordination.
Facilitate.
Nobody's talking.
Facilitate.
Facilitate.
Neighborhood coordination.
There's no focus.
Based on values of Occupy.
Based on the vision of Occupy.
Based on the vision of Occupy.
Facilitate neighborhood
Coordination and facilitation based on the vision of Occupy.
Sorry, okay, I'm going to get back into facilitating now. We have a clarifying question over here.
So I'm just noticing that two conversations are forming, and I'm wondering if we can keep this unified.
Yes, and that would be a point of process.
Okay, so three neighborhood, create and facilitate neighborhood coordination based upon Occupy principles.
Yes.
Vision. Good.
So it's time to, as point of process, before that point of process, I just need to ask here, maybe some mysterious food at the back. I ask for now that you take one slice, and then we'll see if there's more. But for now, please just take one slice. There was a point of process.
We have 3 speakers in my group.
Yeah.
You haven't finished the go around yet. Can we have 4 more or 5 more minutes?
Well, what I'm going to say is because we
need more time.
Out here by 8:30, we're going to start back into the report backs at 7:25. So at this point, you know, it's a free space. If you guys want to wrap up, that's fine. But we need to start back into the report backs at 7:25.
Oh, okay.
And please just take one slice of pizza at the start.
What are the names?
Mike check. Does anybody know a Natalie Halford? Because I found some of her belongings when they were taking the parking car. Does anybody know a Natalie Halford?
Everybody can agree on that. We have to address environmental issues. Can we get a temperature check on that? Yes. Addressing environmental concerns.
Those are the values of Occupy, right?
Yes.
No, but we had a stated issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody good for that?
Okay, so let's race through this really quickly, okay? Okay, so we got down to the neighborhood coordination, create and deliver education program for students. The point about the existing promises from the churches and linkages to other organizations. So engage.
I can't back that up.
Okay, that's
What? I support churches acting as a space to hold the discussions. I'm against involvement.
Yeah,
No,
not so much.
I'm going to have to be against any hierarchical involvement.
And as far as the space, it's a last resort. It's a secular. It doesn't need to be pulled in by any.
Sorry, point of clarification.
What about, forget about the actual church or religious elements.
Yes.
What about accessing the community members that go to the church that want to participate?
I like that.
So
reach out to other organizations.
Yeah, piggybacking on existing efforts, period. Whatever they may be determined to be, right?
If they support the vote.
Maybe not with the institutions, but with the people.
Exactly. So okay, that way. Okay. So it's a general statement rather than a specific one. Okay. So
How about
create
organize forums and summits? Just
create and organize. Yeah, create and organize. Yeah, there we go. Organize.
Well, Thomas is
forums and summits, right?
I know. The banana phone, it's great.
Engage.
I guess that could be seen as bashing by some people, but that's not my intent with that.
Engage the public through church groups.
Yeah, engage existing linkages from the community within the community, right?
It's like behavior.
Okay, whatever those may be. Okay, 6. It could be the PTA, could be the whoever. Monetary interest. Stop paying interest rates, right? Stop.
Well, that's part of education. That's part of part 1 because you can't just stop paying interest.
Well, as an action item going forward, what does Occupy want to do? If Occupy came out and said, we as an organization or as a group all agree that everyone in Canada should stop paying interest rates. That would shake things up in a hurry.
I'm open for it to
Stop
be put down.
paying interest rates.
On debts to private banks.
We did it privately.
Just interest. Whoever. Okay. Occupy forum linkages. This was Bev. This was yours. Encourage, develop, and enhance electronic linkages. Create.
To put words,
and
but I think there was also emphasis on real spaces.
Platforms and linkages.
So
online platforms.
Electronic. Online.
And physical.
Platform.
He keeps saying physical and virtual.
And
very clear about that.
and physical.
So
Did you get up there?
I don't want to belabor it, but
Yeah.
if I could suggest a parallel, City TV used to have the Speaker's Corner booth. So something like that, where you could go in, hear, talk, and move on, and then access them.
Okay.
There is a physical space. It's very simple as the live stream.
Okay. Number 8. Yeah, that would be, so that could be here. That's good. Like here. Okay. DX Economic Forum, right? DX Economic Forum. On history, right? Could we include that as that would include history plus
Design exchange.
language, like
It should also include the creation of a new
Instead of
economic
dictionary.
In other words, I mean, that's what the DX is all about, creativity.
Yeah.
We should be creating a totally new economic system.
That's right.
I think this is not what the point was about at all. The point was first about addressing what we have.
Yeah.
understanding what we
Yeah, we want to... Yeah,
So history and
but then
language, maybe.
That's the next step is to come up with something totally different.
I don't disagree.
But that's not what you would.
But that's
So,
not
so
what I
your
said.
point. So to have an economic forum that only that talked about the economic history.
And also, I don't think forum is the correct term.
Okay.
I just want to propose these two things as specific subjects
Something that's too
for the education component. I think these are two specific subjects for the education component.
Which is number one.
Okay. So that's not okay. So okay. Yes, a purpose. For example, e.g. DX economic history discussion, right? And language,
language of
vernacular,
Jargon.
jargon,
Slang jargon.
jargon of the.
The stock exchange.
So
I would be comfortable with economics dictionary. A dictionary for
economics, yeah. Economics for dummies.
That loses the fact that it's about language.
Actually,
For dummies.
economics is still really operated by dummies.
Dummies, dictionary or glossary.
So
right?
it is not up to me to come up with the solutions for everybody. It is up to you guys as well to help with the solutions.
Right, so I'll
Sure, we are the
start
face
one
of the,
off, okay?
this movement. Sure, we are getting things done right now. But on issues such as disability, if you have problems that you want to address, this is the place to do it right now. What are your issues about disability, and what do you think we should do to help disabled peoples? And now back to this, and I will talk to you on chat.
We just piggyback on that after. Is that on here somewhere?
That would be, it would be.
That would be a step to envision a new
Okay, so
way of
create,
working, a new economy.
create a.
Suggest it fits under vision.
Sorry?
It fits under vision.
If I can
It does.
suggest it,
Yeah.
it could be, if you want to piggyback, it fits under vision.
It does.
Build. For example,
Where are we? Is this the Toronto Stock Exchange building?
This is the former Toronto Stock
Design
Exchange.
exchange.
Sorry, the former?
The former.
okay, so occupy everything.
Subways.
Okay, i.e. GAs in subways. Community centers. Okay. We put that in. Already covered off in that other point, right? Back here. Right?
Yes.
Make sure that it was generalized, it wasn't specific institutions. So we covered that one off. 9, organizing platforms, so online platform.
Participatory democracy.
Or based upon. Based upon. i.e. the Great Law of Peace.
Again, to anybody going to listen, the whole idea of the malls thing, really bad idea. Really bad idea. I work at one. No, our policy is if this group goes in and they start causing issues, they're arresting everyone. And it's trespassing charges, and they do stuff. Those aren't ones that go.
Oh, you're talking about Occupy.
Yeah, because I heard somebody mention, they're like, yeah, well, Occupy the Eaton Center. And I'm like, I'm sitting at work, and I'm like, I don't want to arrest anybody. I don't want to have to do that.
I was just taking your face value. Malls are a very bad idea.
And same with the path. The underground path. Well, be careful. It's all private property. They will.
It's a good place to like
instantly arrest. Yeah. If you guys want to do it, to me, there's ways that I know that we can't arrest you. Yeah.
What if you're just busking in there?
Busking? Oh, they'll arrest you.
They'll arrest
Yeah,
you?
they'll
I
tell
was
you to
doing
leave.
it in there yesterday.
If you're busking, they'll tell you to leave. If you say no, then you're arrested.
That's one of the huge problems
Are
that
we
we should
one of
be
the
try and avoid
and get the
that down.
pizza?
We should be addressing private property.
That's the biggest thing we need to be doing.
Bring it back. Okay, so read that. Read it back.
Legislation here.
Okay, guys, mic check.
The pizza's gone. Sorry about that.
Pizza's gone?
I thought it was going to be brought to our tables. I don't know why I thought that.
Somebody brought me a slice. I got it. Hey guys, mic check. So these are our actions. We got 12 of them here right now, and I'm going to start reading them. I might not
Did
be
they
able
put
to.
address environmental concerns on there?
Yeah, it's number. Yeah, that's the very last one. I can't really read this writing very well.
All right. Action, create education. Well, do we have to go over this again? Do we need to vote now or something?
No. I thought it was already pretty much consolidated.
Are we?
Does anybody like?
Right now,
Whoa.
there's 12 of them.
Sorry,
What were?
I think
what were your
Sarah
concerns
wanted to
on
hear
that?
2 points
Because
from
you
each
have some
table.
concerns. What were they?
That
Oh,
might
do
be
you have any
impossible,
concerns
but
with
that's what she said.
I think the most important thing we need to do is keep things as simple as possible and have small groups, because really complicated ideas is hard to pass before.
How are
That's
we?
my only.
So we have to pick 2 out of here, apparently.
2?
Well, just a minute.
Who
Somebody
said
else
two?
might say education and all that. If we've chosen that, we've got 12 points. Some of them other groups might mention.
Yeah, exactly.
What time is it?
What if, maybe this is wrong, but some of these ideas, these concepts, we've built quite a depth around them from group contributions, like the idea of education. Several people spoke to that. I almost wonder if those items where we've become more specific should be the ones we present, because maybe they have more value as actionable items.
How are we going to choose those?
So
It should be on the pad of paper if the depth of the conversation is reflected.
Right. Well, should we go like this? Will we know ourselves if it was like that or not? Or do we have to go, how do we know?
Which ones seem the most specific?
Okay. Well, so how do we
order.
share those right now? How do we find out what they are? Should we
Education.
Should we all just go like this, or what should we do?
One of the ones I remember that we contributed a lot of unique depth to was education. maybe other people can propose other ones that they felt had a lot of specific depth to them, rather than high level.
I think the community outreach is a big one. I think it's very short, it's concise, it's just in its essence is really easy to understand, I think. So I think that's definitely a big one.
I think another group is
What about neighborhoods?
Well, that would be community outreach.
I think that's what I'm trying to
What
say.
about the subways and the general assemblies and other places?
Those are specific strategies that they're
basically all the same. It's getting the word out in all these things.
Facilitation.
One way or another. And making sure that the word that gets out is not contaminated.
Public relations.
Yeah.
I hate it, but it's the biggest. It's our biggest hurdle right now. Communication and keeping and we're at a severe disadvantage.
We're down to 3 words. We managed to get it down to 3 words.
You get yours in education.
No, they're not listening.
So we're talking about
We got it
education.
down to 3 words.
What are they?
Public relations and marketing.
Oh my God. That's so broad though.
That's exactly what we need.
It's funny because
Covers all of it.
But public relations and marketing, as they've been co-opted by corporations, is wrong. Public relations is merely trying to clarify in a big way, and marketing facilitates that. So I think it's okay if you take it in the essence of what it's supposed to be.
Yes,
We're talking
I
about
agree with you, but
co-opting
they're
their
very,
system.
but
Get
they're
our
very
word
big
out.
words. What about like different actions, specific actions under there?
action.
For them?
Yeah.
It's the actions, not the concept. It's the action, right? You guys, it's the actions, not the concepts. So you can say this is the concept, and then what are the actions?
So the DX, economic forum. Because under education, you could put in the DX economic forum.
I think so. Yes.
The dictionary for dummies.
What about the virtual sharing? Can that be under education?
Yes.
Okay, so the virtual
platform.
Virtual platform?
Like Speaker's Corner.
Let's see if we can get everything under this.
I think everything here can be consolidated down into 2 simple things. One is the virtual platform, which is like in a form of outreach, increase our outreach capabilities via traveling and virtual forums, and that actually could all be consolidated down to that.
But we have to have some specific actions too, like saying one broad thing. It would be good to know, like, have some ideas of how what to do.
Another one was the vision. We
could be
spoke
an
about
educated-
core values and shared values. We spoke about a vision, create a living vision of what society we want. That was the other duplicated one that came out.
Would that be under community?
No, that would be in it's a vision.
I think it's good shared values
So we got the first point was education, right?
Okay, everybody, let's.
So we included in that the history, the DX, the economics for dummies. We included that in the student program as well. We then looked at outreach, and we included in that neighborhood forums or neighborhood linkages and coordination. We included Occupy Everything. Community centers and outreach in that regard, other linkages and other programs, piggybacking onto other existing,
Not through the institution, but through the people involved.
Yeah, and then the third element was really is the vision, a clear and stated vision. That was our second point. Vision.
But that could be rolled under education. It's the thing that education is trying to articulate, isn't it?
We also have
about 3 minutes with a report back. And just a reminder, it's going to be about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So we need the reporters from the group to come on the stage. And for folks to sign their speech again, we're going to begin.
I'm okay. Do you want it? The live stream actually really likes that we're just staying in one place and like they can follow the conversation.
While we're all sitting back down, I have one announcement. Now I have put the camera in the washroom. Lost the camera in the washroom. I have it. Please.
See what happens, but I'd like to move forward with talking to the designers and talking about software. So if it kind of gets lost in the shuffle,
Yeah, okay, because I can stay to the very end. So I can get.
do you have any
Where are we on? Like King and York?
King and Bay, I think.
Bay and Adelaide.
Bay and Adelaide.
It would be really, really cool if you took your seats at your table.
Down to King on
We're going to start.
Oh, Bay and King.
Mic check!
Make our way around the tables like this. So, guess what? The table over there at the far back, over there, yeah, you have your camera up. We're starting with you. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute and a half. I'm going to let you know a minute and a half is up. We're going to need to be succinct. So, no takers. Now you know the order. We're starting at that table back there. Then these folks, these folks, these folks. We're going to snake around the room like this, and you're going to be the last table. So table there at the back, no taker, please come up. Come on up. And we're going to need folks to kind of be ready so we can keep the conversation moving. So now I'm going to take some notes as you come up so I can kind of catch your key points here, okay? So we're going to need the second table to be ready when he's done, and then the third.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is
Ontario Coalition Against Poverty.
Okay. Do you want this or do you want
CAD. Ontario College of Art and Design.
Starting.
Okay.
Go.
About a minute and a half. Well, we already broke down our points, so what we were feeling was the positive progression that the Occupy movement could take. And we put them down to the 3 points, and I'll try to touch on a little bit of everything that we talked about for those 3 points. First and foremost, they're all working together. Education, educating the masses, starting with the youth and children in the movement for our ideas, and moving forward to building a new mindset for the children of the future to build on and move away from the current oppression that we have integrated into our own minds. Secondly, we have constant representation, which is a very important part for the Occupy movement to remain occupied as a physical entity, as a symbol that we are constantly against this, because in this society, if you are not constant, then you will be brushed aside and left to the means of the media's lies and blackouts and cover-ups. Disinformation is a massive problem that we have to deal with as a movement that is going after a very large organization of wealth and commodities and resources which belong to the humans of this planet. Thirdly, we were talking about networking, and networking being one of the most important parts of the progression of this movement. There have been bridges that have been damaged by the current state of our occupation. People have been pushed out of a park that they have slept in for a very long time. And this is a part of gentrification, which is the idea that parks are not for people, they are for those who own the space around them, but we belong on this planet and we do require a safe space for ourselves.
Your time's almost up.
Okay, well, I think that's just about...
You did well. Perfect.
Everything we need to talk.
Give him a hand, eh? Okay, next person, welcome. Misha's going to hold it for you so I can write it.
Misha. Hi, I'm Brian. I was at that table over there. Some of the things that we found were essential to Occupy were the occupations. And moving forward, a key thing to focus on is to have an Occupy site. We figured different types of Occupy sites would be beneficial. Ones that are looked at as day sites in an actual building where all people can feel they can go to learn and discuss. And also stay over Occupy sites that are either taken or given, however we claim them. But actual staying Occupy sites are also essential for people to stay if they don't have a home to go to. And for people who do have homes to go and talk to these people and see that we all share similar values and it has value to be there. The process that we use in Occupy for discussion is essential to share with people and have them understand it. A lot of people felt empowered and had their voices heard by knowing the processes. And the Occupy site being so inclusionary, some people at our table discussed how they felt open to go there because they knew there was no, having there be no kind of distinct focus was more welcoming to come to and to share your idea. And different forms of helping Occupy movements, not being just money donations. One person touched on the fact that hot potatoes were needed at the Occupy site. That was a new way. Instead of just giving $20, hot potatoes really hit home with that person. And it hit home with all the occupants as well, myself included. Another one, invite the 1% to the 99%. Having 100% be a goal, but with the key focus being on having the 99% highlight the ways that the 1% have affected them and made struggle for the 99%. And say, there's a table to discuss, and you have a place at this table, but please own up and understand where you may have made struggle occur. Okay, so I'm out of time. Leaderless movements, we're all leaders. Find the leadership within yourself and stand up and serve your community.
And while the next people are coming up, if the other note takers want to line up so it goes as quickly as possible, that would be great.
And please just know that I'm really dyslexic and I don't have spell check, so forgive me.
So our table had some fabulous, rich discussion, and we tried to distill our points down to just a few, as we mixed in some themes as well as some ideas about how to keep the movement going. And just to piggyback on the previous speaker, and that is an idea that came to our table, which I don't think is necessarily unique in the room, is to have more nomadic occupation. So different places, different neighborhoods, involving the middle class, although we're not quite sure what that means, but involving the middle class and doing more Occupy and creating a living example of, someone coined a word at our table, your sister, occupism. Okay, so to actually create a living example of occupism. And how do we do that? How do we get people involved? And I think this has been said again, is to provide lots of awareness and education. So that's talking to our friends and family, educating people. The question then came up is, in this way, is you know, if we go to the schools, do we actually join the status quo and go into the traditional systems, or do we do something different? So there was some discussion around status quo versus doing a shift, a paradigm shift, or a little bit of both. And that came into discussion both with education as well as with politics. And do we join a mainstream political party, or do we, how do we say this? do we become part of a mainstream political party? And just to honor one of our table mates, the NDP was important to him, so I'm going to say that. One of the other things that somebody else at our table was speaking about that I thought made a huge lot of sense, and we all resonate with that, is about timelines and being realistic and being able to communicate out there some realistic timelines and maybe some milestones about some next steps so that people have a sense of where this is going and what might occur. And that's it. Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
For all Americans, we can take the sheets and put them in a pile next to that curtain there, and then we'll take them all at the end, and maybe we can find a way to digitalize them for the harvest. And so the people who have already gone, if you put your notes in that pile, that would be great.
Hi, so our table talked about, we had 3 different conversations about key issues, capacity building, and just like how to bring that items back to communities. One of the key issues that we came across was the economic inequality in the current system leading to environmental, social, human health crisis, as well as another key issue is being people, the middle class, they don't know where to engage or are too stuck in a convenient lifestyle or are too busy living their lives to actually engage with this particular movement. So when we were looking at building capacity, we looked at neighborhoods, the idea of occupying neighborhoods and accommodating the middle class and engaging the middle class in some way in terms of like film, food, having these face-to-face kind of conversations that we're currently having, which are really important, more so than just press releases and things like that, that we can actually gauge and hear what other people are saying. Also, we saw building a capacity in terms of harnessing the creative power of artists to to give a message, a brand, a slogan, or some sort of succinct movement or phrasing for this movement. Thank you.
Great, thank you. By the way, everybody's doing incredibly well and staying on time, so thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so our group went through a lot of stuff that's already been said, really focusing on outreach to organizations, to individuals, and with other Occupy movements. Specifically, we talked about reaching out to seniors and people that might have a lot of time to come volunteer, but don't necessarily like go on Facebook or Twitter. We also talked about marketing, even though it's not always the best word, just like being able to brand ourselves in an accessible way so people understand, you know, the various things that we're doing. We talked about needing a physical space now that we don't have the park anymore, somewhere where we can meet and have these conversations. We talked about the need to be professional. We talked about getting some sort of, now that we don't have a space, at least for now, having some sort of master email list or something, specifically with the skills profiles of different people, because when we look around here, we have so much energy we can harness and so many people that bring different skills, but we don't have anywhere where we know how to access that. And finally, we talked about educating ourselves, so not just looking outward, but looking inward and learning ourselves about the economic system, about social services, about other organizations, that kind of thing. And yeah, and the last thing was just not needing one defined goal, which has been kind of a tenet of this movement all along, and not really like harping on what is the one thing that we want. Okay, beautiful. And less fear, more fun.
One of those ideas right away. People want to circulate an email list at their tables as an opportunity to start gathering a collective database of people who are really interested in this and want to stay up with the action. That would be great. So if one person at each table just wants to circulate an email list, that can be brought up again to this harvest pile that's starting on the right side next to the curtain.
Our table would first like to highlight let it all happen, don't worry so much about process. We'd like to bring the message from the park to the streets. We'd like our occupation to be nomadic in nature and draw from Indigenous communities who are nomadic and spreading that message. We do desperately need an activist organizing space in Toronto to act as a hub. We used to have the Uprising bookstore, and we used to have the Hope Squat, and we need to use new space like that. We'd like to advocate for small guerrilla type actions like the TTC occupation that happened today, and big ups for that. We'd also like to keep building trust and solidarity that was born out of Occupy Toronto, spending the 40 days and 40 nights, and acknowledge that that trust and solidarity that we built, surviving those 40 days and 40 nights, needs to move forward and continue. And we'd like to keep building up that sacred fire that we built inside of ourselves and